Hello, listeners, and welcome back to another episode of Lead Up for Women, Speak Up to Lead Up. We are still celebrating my birthday month of April. I say that because I spent the week with my grandkids on the week of my birthday, and I feel like I haven't really had 1 second to celebrate my birthday. So I have three very good girlfriends that I have had for 20 some years. I remember my kids were infants when we used to travel to Mexico because I live in Arizona. We all live in Arizona, and so it's easy to get to Mexico. We used to travel to Rocky Point a couple times a year, and I just loved that time away as a mom when I was raising kids. And there were naysayer moms out there that said, "I can't believe you travel and go with your girlfriends." When you have little kids at home, and I said, if I don't travel and go spend some time with my girlfriends and just be me on the beach, I'll kill those kids. Let me just tell you. So I wasn't really going to kill my kids. But I'm telling you, moms, it's a sanity break, and we all needed it at that time. And I bring that up because we should not ever be apologizing for breaks that we need from our kids, from our families, for ourselves, for self care. I talk about this all the time. We need to show up for ourselves. We show up a lot for our businesses, for our children, for our family, for our communities, for our spouses, significant others. We're always showing up for everybody, and we need to show up for ourselves. So let that be a reminder as you go into May. What are you doing right now that is not serving you, that is overtaxing you? And what can you let go of and allow more space for you to take care of yourself? I don't care if it's 15 or 20 minutes every morning that you're doing gratitude journals like I do, or reading and educating yourself, or on Monday night, I went and spent 3 hours at a girlfriend's house, and we all had our birthdays in April, so we celebrated our birthdays in April and each brought a little dish and just had some fun hanging out. So, what are you doing to connect with others that fills your soul, that's self-care for you? Go get a massage, go get your nails done. I go get a massage every 3 to 4 weeks because I'm stuck in this chair, on Zoom all the time. So, do what it is that you need to do that's going to assist you in really feeling your best, being your most confident. Because today we're talking about exposure, and we're going to talk about showing up in a lot of other platforms and how you get exposure. And, someone asked me the question this morning. I just love authenticity and showing up as myself, and I love to wear t shirts. So, is it bad if I show up in a t shirt? And I said, well, you're a doctor. And I said, do you know how impressive it is if you show up in a white lab coat and you've got the right background, and it just exudes energy, it exudes authority. So I would love to have those conversations today with my guests. So that's what our episode is going to be about today. And I'm excited to get started on that because Miss Angel, now I didn't ask you, Angel, so would you please unmute yourself very quickly? I did not cover this with you before we started. Is it Tuccy? Tu- nope. Okay. Go ahead and say your name, Angel.
And I should have given it to you. And I usually send it in advance. It's Tussy and it rhymes with
Tessie.
fussy. So
Oh, you know what? It says right here, speaker intro, it says Angel Tussy rhymes with fussy. So I should have read that very first, but I didn't. So that's okay. Everyone knows in production here, we're not, you just go with the flow of what happens. And I don't want to introduce you wrong or have your name wrong because that's super rude. So let me tell you about Angel Tuccy. Let's just get that name right. Let me tell you about her. She's an award winning speaker. Congratulations, by the way, Angel, on being an award winning speaker. She's a radio host, a TV producer, a 13-time best-selling author, and PR media specialist. Her clients have been featured on thousands of media publications, television, radio, podcasts, magazines, and stages, and she's helped launch several broadcasting and speaker careers. So you said your top-selling book, ABCs of Exposure, is how to example for creating media exposure in less than 90 days, right? So is that that's your top selling book? So does that mean you have other books, Angel?
I am now a 14-time published author.
Oh,
And those
wow.
and those are the books that I have written or at least have a chapter in. I've got a few that
Yeah.
I've contributed a chapter to. But then I also have very many that I've written the introduction or the foreword, have
Yeah.
contributed to in some other manner. But yeah, 14 that have my name as the published author.
Okay, so we're going to talk about that because if anyone listened to what I just said, immediately they go, "Oh, well, of course she's doing so well. Look at her. She's an award-winning speaker." Well, she wasn't when she started. She's a radio host. She wasn't when she started. She's a TV producer. She wasn't when she started. I just want to keep reminding you. And she had to have started with the first book. I'm doing a compilation book right now, and we just had our first kickoff call yesterday. Now, I've been in books, but this is my first one coordinating as a compilation book because, again, I wanted to provide women in my community more visibility. And I know all the visibility that came with me doing my first book and the credibility and the authority that it brings. We all start somewhere. So if you're listening to this, let's talk, Angel, to the women that are female entrepreneurs. They have a business. Maybe they're not where they want to be in their business, or they've just started out, and I say just started out, and some women have owned their businesses for 4 years, but they're not bringing in near the revenue that they're looking to bring in. I know visibility and exposure is what, like, just opens that floodgate, right, for revenue. So let's really speak to some of the women who just started, and feel free to fill in some of your own stories of when you started and how you saw visibility and exposure and how it's really helped you in your journey. So tell us a little bit about your journey.
I would love to. Well, thank you so much, Colleen, for giving me this platform, for inviting me to be on as your guest. Happy birthday month to you, and loved
Thanks.
hearing your story of how you took that time to for that self-care, even as a mom, right? I think what a shining example you were for your family, but also for other families out there. And what a great impact that is. And it's interesting you introduced me as an award-winning speaker, and even when I hear it, it still brings back this reminder that I almost did not graduate high school because I couldn't pass my public speaking class. I was too nervous to speak in front of my peers, to stand up, right? It was a required credit. I had to take the class to graduate. And yeah, I was just too embarrassed. I was too nervous. I was too shy. I couldn't get the words out. One of the activities we had to participate in was just going into our little radio studio booth, our high school radio studio booth, and reading it's called copy, but reading words from a page into a microphone. And I couldn't even do that. And thank goodness my teacher took pity on me and he gave me a D just so I could pass, so I could graduate. And, years and years later, I end up hosting my own radio show. I end up becoming a public speaker. And I barely graduated high school because I was so afraid to speak in front of a
Mm.
crowd. And it just goes to show that who you were yesterday doesn't dictate who you're going to be tomorrow. And at any point you have a choice, and you can make that change. So
I'm glad that you said that because it is a choice, right? Um, a lot of things as children for all of us happen to us sometimes when we were too young to understand it, right? I had a very abusive father. There was really no way for me to get out of that, right? There was no way to get out of that. So, I had an abusive father. I had some things that happened in my life that really I could have stayed in the victim mode. So I love that you mentioned that. And we need to anchor that in right now for everybody listening, that we have a choice. You are not a victim to things that have happened to you. Pay attention to the things around you that are happening for you. Hint, hint, like you're now listening to this podcast and you're getting these messages. This is happening for you. We're talking about you have a choice to show up or not show up. All the choices are ours at that point. And so talk to us a little bit about, your journey and understanding visibility and exposure. And when did that become something, as you were launching a business, or tell us what you started and why you realized that visibility and exposure was just key.
it was early. It was very early on. I started a podcast, back in, was it 2008, 2009, right? When it was like the thing, anybody with a cell phone connection and an internet, right, could have their own podcast. But I'd met somebody who was a producer, and he produced professional podcasts. And so once a week was doing a podcast, and my podcast was discovered by my local radio station. and they said, we'd love to have you as a daily program on our radio show, which, never been in radio. Again, not the public speaker. The very first day in the studio, I took my headphones off and said, this is what I want to do. I could be in a quiet room. Nobody else was looking at me. I could read my notes and I could impact. I could have this large impact using the power of media. But even talking about choice, Colleen, when um, we were discovered, right, to have our show on the radio, they wanted to give us the drive time. And in radio lingo, there's two ideal times of day to have that visibility, and it's the morning drive or the afternoon drive, because that's when you have the most people listening, right?
Mhm.
And so, because I was an unknown, they said, we want to give you the afternoon drive time, and that is the primo premier absolute best spot to have when it comes to a media career. That's when everybody's listening. However, my children were in elementary school at the time, and being in the afternoon meant that I would not be home in the afternoon when my kids got home from school. I would miss that
Mm.
afternoon, time when they would come in. And at the time, I noticed that if I was home when my kids got home from school and I had snacks, they would come in and they would be telling me all about their day, who said this, who did what, like everything that happened. But if I waited to have that conversation until dinner time, it was a little less enthusiastic. And then, of course, if I was out in the evening networking or building my business, right? If I waited till the evening to ask them about their day, what happened? Nothing. What'd you do? Nothing. Like it
They've
just,
already forgotten about it.
yeah, it's done. So that after school time for me as a
Mhm.
mom was so important. So even though I was a working woman, I wanted to be home when my kids got home from school.
Mhm.
And to take this afternoon drive time spot meant I would give up that time as a mom. So I'm sitting in this conference room surrounded by men. Radio is men, right? It's a male, it was at the time, very still is male dominated industry,
They're all male-dominated
right?
industries.
And decided that I wasn't going to take the afternoon drive because it meant that I had this choice, right? Build my career or be a mom. And they said to me, like, don't you? I thought your career was important to you. I thought this is what you wanted. Like, this is the dream, and this is what you've been working for. I'm like, it is, but I can't give this up. Like, do I choose? And I think that as women and as moms, we often feel like we have to choose between our family and our careers. And I was at that crossroad, the only woman at the table, and really kind of saying goodbye to the drive time meant the kiss of death for exposure and visibility.
Mhm.
But I chose instead the mid morning, right? Not even the morning. I wanted to take my kids to school, drive to the studio, and then be home in the afternoon.
Mhm.
And they said, this is the worst thing you can do for you need, nobody's heard of you, right? And how in business, right? Nobody's heard of you. You need visibility, you need exposure. Even in radio, like there's still that conversation. And I said, but I will never get this time back. I will never
Mhm.
get this time back. And this is just too important to me. And I learned a very valuable lesson that day, Colleen, because they said to me, I need the drive time in order to grow my audience. And they were right. But I just couldn't give up. I just couldn't do that to my family. I couldn't do that for my kids. I couldn't do that to me. And they said, here's what we're going to do. You'll be live at 10 o'clock in the morning, and we will re air your show in the afternoon to help you to build your audience.
Mm.
And so that was that day that I learned, like we set the boundaries and we
Yeah.
choose, and the people around us will only follow suit. We dictate what's important and what we want by the choices, right? The action,
Mm.
the activities that we take in. And I think that we often think we don't have a choice, and we really do. We really do. So that was early on in my media career. Started a radio show, pretty much unknown, and but I was still networking. I was building a business, and realized that I could help the small business owner create exposure. Radio advertisers are the folks with the big bucks, right?
Mhm.
They're the insurance companies and the automobile industries and the jewelry industries. They are the companies that are established. But where do small business owners get that type of visibility, get that exposure? They're out there networking and they're building their business one to one, right? They're
Mhm.
exchanging business cards, they're doing one-on-one discovery calls, right? One-on-one meetings. They're in the sales process, one person at a time.
Yeah.
And so I had a heart for these entrepreneurs and these small business owners and started teaching them how to leverage media interviews, not paid advertising. But if you could be that content expert as a guest on a radio show, television, magazine, podcast, the exposure, building your business one to many,
Mhm.
it was a game changer for small businesses. And the way to get interviews for free in media is to be a published author. And so that was the beginning of everything that I teach now on how to leverage the power of publicity and
Mhm.
publishing in order to create that visibility in one, instead of going to one networking event that is 2 hours. Well, actually in the beginning, I used to go to this leads group. For 6 years, I went to a leads group and talked to the same 30 people every single week, Colleen, which is great for relationships, right? No doubt
Yep.
about it. But how insane is
You're
that?
not meeting anybody new. It's the same
No,
people. Yeah.
no, it's the same people. And yet in if you do 2 interviews a week, and this is the my little secret formula, not secret,
Mhm.
magic formula.
No, I love it.
2 interviews a week, that puts you in front of 100 new audiences a year. 100 audiences with only 2 interviews a week. And most interviews are anywhere from 20 to 60 minutes. You do them from the comfort of your own home. And so I often, when I was out speaking, I would wear my sleep mask, right, on stage to say, you don't even have to get out of bed. You don't have to get dressed, put on high heels, drive in traffic, find a parking spot, right? Go and exchange business cards, come back and figure out who's a good lead for you. Follow. I mean, it's insane what the small business owner is doing and hustling. This is what keeps us busy but broke. But in
Mhm.
a media interview, you can impact hundreds, thousands, hundreds of thousands, even millions with your
Mhm.
story, right? Telling your story with your voice and bringing them into what I call your sales castle, building your business one to many. There's nothing else. There's nothing else that you can do that creates this kind of exposure than leveraging the power of media.
Yeah, that's great. And thank you for sharing that. And I love that mask. It's beautiful. For those of you that can't see the mask that she just put on, it said do not disturb. So if you're listening from our podcast, I'm going to encourage you to go to our Lead Up for Women Facebook page so you can catch the video, so you can see Angel in her mask, because that's great. It's solely the truth. And now, with the way that technology is since the pandemic, so many businesses that I work with and so many women in our community are thriving because of them leveraging the exposure that they get, through the magazine or through the podcast, and through the media. This is a great opportunity. The media is like running out of things to talk about. They have one
They are.
subject right now, and it's all about borders. That's the only subject they're talking about. That's all anyone has to talk about. They need like some good subjects to be talking about. And I love that you said that, Angel, because that was a clear message that needs to be sent. And I haven't been able to send it in that way. And I love the way that you said it, where one of the fastest and quickest ways to get a media interview is to be a published author. And I knew that I needed to be a published author, and there was all these reasons why and the opportunities that it opens up. And it's never, unless you are given a book deal where you're prepaid for a book deal and they're working on getting you a New York, number one bestseller. That's a different story. I'm talking about if you're working with you and a publisher, or many, and an editor and a publisher in a book, um, that leads for your opportunity. It's not the book sales, right? If you're a number one bestseller, it could be the book sales. If you're selling all these books, a New York bestseller. But I'm talking about the publishing itself and having that credibility. You have a resource to refer to. You have something to talk about, and the media will ask you about that. They want you, to talk about that. So I'm glad that you mentioned that, because I want people to make a big impact in that way. But that was beautiful about saying, like, that's the number one lead to get you into a media
It
interview
is.
quick.
It is absolutely. And Colleen, here's something else. Like I think a lot of times we're told that there's no money in the book. Like, it's all in the back end. It's the
Mm,
sales, it's the credibility, the elevation, and it absolutely is. Back in September, I was on a road trip and I had been listening to some different podcasts. Of course, I'm working with Sharon Lechter and just talking, just thinking about, building that $1 million business.
mm-hmm,
And I had this kind of this collision of thoughts that all kind of came into my head all at once. The book, when you do 2 interviews a week, let's just say, for example, you sold 25 copies each time. You're out there
mm-hmm,
and you're promoting your book and you're doing these interviews, you're the content expert. If you sold 25 copies twice a week, that's 200 sales. It's
mm-hmm,
about $5,000 in intellectual, like, royalty mailbox money that you don't have to get somebody on your calendar. You don't have to do a discovery call. You
mm-hmm.
don't have to maintain that client. This is truly an additional revenue stream that most authors, even once they publish their book, they're not really out promoting it and talking about it or selling it. Even 7 sales a day. You know, 7 people that you could ask, invite, tell, beg, right? That you could get out. That's $5,000 for most small business owners. That's a game changer.
Mm,
And here's another number: 100 sales a day is $1 million. 100 sales a day. We think we've got to go out and create those 100. Like, who's going to file, like, who's going to buy it from me, and but when you're leveraging 100 new audiences, you're
mm-hmm.
leveraging the power of online marketing and
Yeah.
digital and automation and, like, all of those things bubbling up together. You can really create an additional revenue stream for you. Most of us think, if we're going to double our income, we've got to double our clients, or
Mm-hmm.
I've got to add another product. And that other product is probably something we're leveling up on, really takes, like, that higher level, that really high ticket. But when you have a book, you are the guest on somebody else's platform. You lead them into, and they've read your book, they are more likely to invest in your high ticket offers, like,
Mm-hmm.
faster. You're building them, bringing them in without any pushy sales. Like, the book is your love letter to your clients.
Yeah, it's like your business card.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you on that. So thank you for sharing that, Angel. Okay, so you also do, besides being an author, you also are a TV producer. So talk to me about TV, because that's something that's been coming up a lot lately. And I know the Best You has gone to TV. So many people are now on Roku, or they're doing shows on Amazon. So this is seems to be, in the last couple of years, kind of the newest way for us to be able to get exposure, is being on TV. So let's just touch on that very quickly, so that our audience understands the value of being on TV, and how to do it the proper way.
Well, there definitely is, like, a do's and don'ts of what you'd want to watch, quality programming, that somebody would want to come back and watch again. But it used to be the logos were ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox. Well, now they're Roku, Hulu, Chromecast, Apple TV.
Hmm.
And I produced my first TV show years ago. We had 12 episodes, an entire season. And it is, you as you think about the levels of visibility as you rise up. I mean, TV and movie is, like, at the top, right?
Hmm.
But TV is right up there. Think about the famous people, think about the people that are, and maybe famous might not be the right word, but the folks that you're like, oh my gosh, how did they get this kind of visibility? How did they get this notoriety? They were on television, right? They were seen on TV. As seen on TV is probably that's like the I Ching, right? Like, that's up
Hmm.
there of that top visibility piece for you. And so digital streaming opens up the gateway for all of us. It levels the playing field. We can all have a studio in our own home. Somebody else will
Hmm.
have a studio in their own home. You don't have to. We used to spend, cost me $12,000 an episode to produce, just for the studio and the production. That didn't count lots of other things, but just to rent the studio and to have the production, it would cost us $12,000. So that's cost prohibitive. I mean, think
Hmm.
about, that's just cost prohibitive for most of us. Digital streaming changes everything. So if
Mhm.
you have the opportunity, number one, I always teach OPP, like leverage somebody else's platform, other people's platforms.
Mhm.
Be a guest on somebody else's TV show, radio, magazine. Start there, because to host your own is so distracting. Right? If you're going to do it right, you want to learn the technology, you want to learn camera presence, you want to learn
Mhm.
audio, visual, lighting, interview skills. You want to have the back, you definitely want to invest. And so it can be very distracting as you're trying to build your own business, because none of that is generating revenue.
Right.
Yet, when you get to be like the OPA, right? Other people's platforms, other people's audiences for somebody else, it changes, shifts the paradigm. It takes you from being the guest to the host. And so even if you're not there today, it definitely needs to be on your radar of where I'm
Mhm.
going. And the universe loves speed. So there's nothing that says I can do that 3 years from now or 5 years from now. You could do that 3 months from now.
Mhm.
And especially if you're leveraging visibility or media exposure for visibility, most of the time, the kind of goals that we set for our businesses and ourselves, we we expect to take the whole year.
Yeah.
But when you've got exposure, it could be a quarter. You could hit those goals this quarter and
Yeah.
start crushing it and elevating up. There's nothing that says you have to do this very slowly. You can do it quickly.
Yeah, I love the other people's platforms because that's really how you can build the exposure and help you build your business and start driving in some of those revenues with that exposure. Then, if you want to start your own podcast or you want to start your own magazine or you want to, be a published author, through that, whatever it is and platforms that you want to create, you can definitely create out of that. But you shouldn't do it the other way around. I think I probably did it the other way around and I started with the community, built all the platforms for females to get exposure. But one of my favorite things is being on other people's shows. It really is. It is definitely something I'm focused on in 2021 because I have all the platforms and do all the exposure building for, thousands of women. And it's like, I love to be on other people's stages, on other people's radio shows, on other people's TV shows. It is so fun to me to be a guest because I feel like I can just relax and just go with the flow. So I definitely know what you're saying and I can even attest to what you're saying, Angel, for exposure. That was a plan of ours for 2021 was to really I focused a lot of inward and building, some more platforms and infrastructure last year with, through the pandemic, but this year it was like we need to get more visibility for Lead Up for Women and for Calling Bigs, right? For me, and it has just been nonstop since the train left the station in January. And it has attracted so many more people to the community and so many more people to me individually as clients to work with me in my LEAP program. So the exposure is key. And most of the time, the exposure costs you nothing. It's $0 for you to be on some of these shows. So
Yeah.
take
It's
advantage of it.
a lot of times it's free or
Yeah.
very low cost. And people ask me all the time, should I pay for stages? Should I pay for exposure? Like maybe, maybe depending on, if you
Hmm.
want to be in a quoted in an article or have an editorial page in Oprah magazine, it's going to cost you about 18 grand.
Yep.
Should you pay for that? Well, maybe, right? Think about the
Hmm.
visibility, think about the exposure and who's going to see this.
Yeah.
One person, right? Think about how many people you want to impact. And they're out right now, they're just probably just right outside of the group you're in.
Hmm.
So most of the time it is free, most of the time
Hmm.
it's low cost. Sometimes there are costs. And I would love for you to be able to hashtag fund the life. So think about, if I have to go and pay for that, and it's X dollars, right, to pay for that, how many books do I need to sell? And so you have a like you have a way to
Hmm.
almost like print your own money. So you can say yes to these opportunities that are out there,
Yeah.
rather than holding ourselves back and saying I don't have and this isn't. I mean, you do you say, let your yes be yes, your no be no. And when you're super
Hmm.
clear on where you're going and how you're getting there and the people you're serving, it just it all starts to come in like clockwork, right? It's just it's a system, but it feeds itself. Media attracts media, stages attract
Mm-hmm.
stages. Every time you speak, somebody says, "Oh, I've got someplace else for you." But you
Mm-hmm.
have back it up, right? And we start by positioning you with a message. Like, what's your media story?
Yeah.
What are you going to speak on? What are you going to give as value? Because it's not an infomercial. You're not out there, hey, today get my wares, right? You're adding value, you're inspiring, you're educating, you're entertaining,
Yeah.
and adding value to the audience, even if they don't buy from you, even if they don't buy the book, even if they don't opt in. You still have to go out there and add value and know that it's a ripple effect that
Mm-hmm.
you are putting out into the world, and it comes back in ways that you can't even imagine.
Absolutely, it does. It does. I mean, I understand it because it's happened to me over and over again. It's how I built, all of my businesses. So, Angel, how tell me how you work with a client. So someone listening right now, they're like, "Wow, I really like Angel and what she's saying about media, and I would love to be able to get more media exposure for my business." First of all, if you're listening to this and you're a follower of Lead Up for Women, you should be a member of Lead Up for Women. If you're not, you should go onto the website to get all the exposure that we have. But if you're really looking to get in the media, to get prepped for that, Angel, you do that, right, with your clients. So talk us through just how do you work with your clients, and someone listening, how would they get in contact with you?
Well, I have a complimentary media starter kit that we start with that helps
Okay.
you just brainstorm, plant some ideas of different ways that you can create exposure, leverage your story, what type of media outlets, helping you to find those media opportunities. And that's free. And you can grab that at our website. We also have a free Facebook group. It's our media matchmaker group where we match you up with speaking opportunities, where if people are looking for guests, they will post their requests and you can respond directly to that podcaster, that event planner, that stage. And so it's a lots of freebie
Mm,
ways and fun ways for folks to play with us. I also do a media mastery boot camp 3 times a year, and we're actually getting ready to come up with ours in May. And so that's coming up soon. And I take 3 days and walk you through publishing what I call your food book, the book that puts food
mhm.
on the table, putting your whole media story together, prepping you for media. We teach you how to leverage the power of publicity and do that all in our media boot camp. And then we also do have a done for you PR service where we put out a press release for you every single month. And so, kind of we teach you how, but then for those that are like, okay, Angel, can you just do it? We have a service that we provide for that. But the best way is like just to get started. Jim Rohn says
Yeah.
you don't have to be great to start. You just have to start to be great. And that's where that complimentary starter kit comes into play.
Yeah, I love that. And what was the name of your website for them to
It's makeyourbigimpact.com.
Okay.
Makeyourbigimpact.com.
And we'll have that information here on the Facebook video. I'll be uploading that information when we're finished here, as well as anyone listening on the podcast. You should have all of that in your description right there. You can just click on that and go straight to her website. And I highly recommend that you download that free complimentary kit. I mean, she's giving it away for you to take that first step today. And if you don't take the first step, it's never going to happen. No one's going to come knocking on your door asking you to be on their TV show if they don't know who you are. So I have to say, you've got to take the first step. Action. Success is on the other side of action. So you need to take that first step and take
And
that
you have to
action.
know they want your stories. They are
Yeah.
looking for guests. They don't have a magic 8 ball. They don't know that
Mm-mm.
that you're sitting around going, I wish I could be a guest on somebody's show. You have to reach out to them, but they are looking for guests. And
Mhm.
so I teach you how to put that email together. I teach you how to put your media one sheet together and your media story. But they are looking, like they want guests. They have hours and hours to fill of airtime, pages and pages to fill. And like Colleen said, right now, a lot of what's happening in the news is very single, a single topic, but they need filler, right? Those human
Mhm.
interest stories, those local, done good stories, people making a difference in their
Yeah.
community. And so don't be afraid of it. Like, do they want me? Yes, they absolutely
Mhm.
do. And especially if you've published the book on it and you're like, and it's out there, it makes it even easier for them to say yes and find a spot for you.
I absolutely agree. You don't know until you try. So you need to put yourself out there and get the visibility and be confident with that visibility because you, 3 feet from gold is what I was thinking when you said, it's just right outside that circle. And I believe that was the book that Sharon Lecter wrote. And so for me, I think about that, you're just like in the shadows right now. And as soon as you step into that light, other people will see you, and if you're not being seen and being heard, you're being overlooked. So you
Oh,
need to be
yes.
seen and be heard.
Yes.
It's very, very crucial. So, Angel, thank you again for anchoring in that point today about visibility and about exposure. And I love that you offer that to all of our listeners to go out there and download that free gift. And for all of you, you should definitely connect with her. We'll have all of her links for social media and her Facebook group available to you. So, Angel, thank you again so much for being on the show with us today. It was so fun.
It was
It's
really
so fun.
fun, Colleen. I had a great time. Thank you.
Good. It was great interviewing you. And thank you so much for assisting so many people in attracting the right clients by getting that visibility through media because we need more and more and more of us out there lifting and showing off, as so many business owners and helping them prep and be prepared for that. Because again, women are amazing individuals, and there's so much we can do just by empowering another female and what the impact that she's going to make. So think about that, just that service and that impact that you make just by empowering one person. So thank you so much, Angel, for all that you do in that industry. We appreciate it. All right, you guys, next up for next week, we have Michelle Calloway and Heather Locke with us. I'm really excited to be interviewing them. And of course, don't forget, we've got our weekly teaching Tuesdays that our members are teaching. And like I always say, if learning is beneath you, then leadership is beyond you. We should always be learning, consistently learning to be strong leaders in our industry. So take advantage of these free webinars. You can go to our website, leadupforwomen.com. I'll put a link in there. And we have our new magazine, hot off the press. Our March, April magazine is hot off the press. And I think we have Nadine Joy on the front. I'll also put a link. There's an event coming up on May 5th that I'll be speaking out of hers. It's a very big summit. Sharon Lecter will be there as well. I feel like I just like follow Sharon around. I don't know what's happening. She seems to be at every event that I'm doing. I'm going to her ranch this weekend. A lot of fun collaborations. Again, proximity principle. We talk about this a lot. Who are you putting yourself in proximity of? They will help open a lot of opportunities for you. So thinking about that, who are you putting yourself in proximity of? With that, I'll leave you with this. Remember, you are the only you that has ever been. You are the only you that will ever be. So, how you pioneer your future is up to you. You have the strength. You get to make what Angel and I talked about earlier, which is the choices for what you do in your business, in your life. So, be you and be strong, and we'll see you next week. Take care.